Welcome out to the Nerd Effect Podcast. We're on episode number 35, and I'm one of your hosts, Dustin Vancouver. I'm joined by two of my favorite cohorts,
Michael Morgan
and Mason Ireland.
Yippity-doo! I changed it up.
There you go.
Yes,
Did it work?
Yeah, it was better. It didn't.
That was really almost kind of epic, but really kind of dweeby at the same time.
That's what I was going for.
All right.
All right, then.
We hit the target.
Nice. All right.
Boom, headshot.
Yes! That was really good. I like that. Which, by the way, after our conversation that we had the other day...
Yes, I saw it.
They're
They're unreal.
I was like, what are the odds? Like, it was totally overdue. They needed one horribly. And it's been... I think the last time I saw one was right at like the beginning of the PS3's lifespan, which I didn't have...
UT3.
Actually, I think it may have even been before that because I actually had it on PC.
UT3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that was when I still had an AGP card.
So,
Yeah.
for those of you not in the know, we're talking about Unreal Tournament here.
If you don't know, you need to go play it. It's fun.
Amazing.
Well, we're going to start off the top of the show. We are recording on Memorial Day. You probably won't hear this until Friday, but since it is Memorial Day, I wanted to do a little thing at the top of the show where we wanted to pay our respects to the men and women who served our country, currently, past, present, future.
And have paid the ultimate price. This is Memorial Day, not Veterans Day.
Yes.
Yes.
Anybody who could possibly pay the price. Yes.
Yeah.
We're looking at you, Copel. Stay alive.
Yeah.
No.
You too, Quilly.
Yes. I don't
Anyway,
know if, I hope it'd be nice if Quilly listened. I don't know if he does.
you don't think he does?
I don't know. It'd be cool if he did. Just, I like Quilly. I miss Quilly.
I miss Quilly too.
Duh.
God damn it. All right. Well, we're going to do our quick 10 seconds here at the top of the show, and then we're going to get right into War Games. And 10
Begin.
seconds. All right. Well, we're back, and
Yes.
we're going to start off. We're going to talk kind of a theme show today, since it is Memorial Day. We're going to talk war games, and some of the ones that we played out there. This could be anything from a board game, video game, card game, whatever. If it's military or strategy based, chances are we're going to bring it up. First one that came to my head was the obvious Call of Duty. Obviously has quite the line of.
Yes.
It's the Madden of battle games.
Yeah. Well, not quite.
Not quite.
Not quite. Madden's done by the same studio every year. COD's done by two studios alternating years.
That's true.
So they actually technically get a little more time to work on it. Not that EA's updated the engine in the last 5 or 6 iterations of the game, but
Well, we can have hopes for PlayStation 4 because I did see Call of Duty Future Warfare, or
it does look a lot better. And they
It
have
does look-
also said it's on a new engine. So
yeah. So I have high hopes for that, especially with the mech suits. I want to see how that's going to pan out.
yeah,
So,
Giggity.
new Battlefield. That's the other big name on the block when it comes to
to the war games. Well, and Arma.
and Arma. See, I never played Arma.
Well, you have like Call of Duty and Battlefield are very fast-paced games, and it's I died, I'm back in it. I died, I'm back in it. As far as how it works, as a player,
Right. Each kill is more of a point rather than
right.
death.
Arma is a lot more realistic. Like you can get injured but not die, and you're still in the game. Things like that.
Interesting.
So
So you can just hobble around versus like
barely,
so you just lay on the ground bleeding.
yeah, pretty much.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
It's a lot more. There's a lot more actual strategy and stuff involved in Arma versus COD or Battlefield.
Now, isn't the engine Arma based off it? That's the World War Z or the
World War Z,
engine.
Daisy World War. Daisy is based off the same engine as Arma. It's a mod
right.
for Arma
Right.
originally.
Okay,
So
I've seen DayZ played, but I've never seen Arma played.
yeah,
So, but DayZ's not a war game, so
no.
unless you count a war against zombies.
World War Z.
Oh, touche. Did they ever make a game out of that? I don't think they did.
It's kind of the inspiration for
Every game.
for like DayZ and like Survivor Stories or whatever Survivor Stories was called before it was called Survivor Stories because it was so terrible. Like, yeah.
Mike, any war games come to your brain?
As far as first-person shooters, the last one I ever really played was Tribes, and that's a long time ago. I played on some of the newer ones, but really not more than a few hours at a time. And when I can ever really think about putting any time on was like the Vietnam one.
Battlefield Vietnam.
Yeah, that one. Of course, that was a while ago. So, but I've seen a lot of the new ones played. The Black Ops.
Yeah.
I watched my girlfriend play through that one, so I've seen it. I just haven't really played it much.
Yeah. So personally, my thing is that I'm not a huge fan of modern military shooters.
Mm-hmm.
I either like World War II era stuff or future. And by future, I mean things like power armors and, completely crazy guns. And,
Yay, Tribes.
Tribes, Unreal,
Oh, yeah.
Would you call Unreal a war game, though?
No. Unreal's not really a war game.
It's a tournament.
It's a tournament. It's, yeah. I mean, they even set up with the very light amount of story that's in Unreal. You guys are there, your characters are there competing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's, a sport, a tournament.
Yeah.
But like Tribes is set up as a war going on. PlanetSide 2, I never played the original PlanetSide because I was unwilling to pay MMO prices for a first person shooter. But PlanetSide 2 is free and I occasionally reinstall it and play it for a few days and then not play it for 6 months and uninstall it and then install it again.
You just kind of get the bug.
I get a bug every once in a while to play it, yeah. But it's, they're futuristic, but it is very much a war theme and war based. Mm-hmm. Cause like in, both, Tribes and, PlanetSide 2, you're actually trying to take objectives. Tribes is, short term game, they're only 20 minutes long or whatever. But like in PlanetSide, like the territory you take belongs to your side until one of the other two sides takes it from you. So it's a push-pull struggle type thing, like the battle lines do shift and, it is more of a war theme, I guess you could say, than, definitely like Unreal. Not that I hate tournament shooters. I actually prefer tournament shooters in a lot of ways.
What about a game like, a game I've never played, but have seen lots of it, especially, I think the only thing I've really seen that's major was Angry Joe's review of Civ 5. Which seemed to be a very, like, Roman Empire type military based.
Civ games.
Like strategy based.
Are strategy games, but you're not just worried about military strategy. You are worried about political strategy, the manipulation of science and religion and education and farming, and you're building a civilization literally from hunter-gatherer. You start as hunter-gatherers and work your way up through the game to be, ideally, eventually, if you win at Civ games, you eventually take over the world in the name of, whatever civilization you pick, Rome, Egypt, the Celts. So it's not just military. And Civ 5,
it looked like a glitchy piece of shit, but
well, there was a patch that fixed that. I hate having to say that nowadays. Games should ship with basically bug free. Mm-hmm. Okay, but Bethesda would never ship anything if they shipped it bug free. But,
True dat.
Yeah, but I love me the Bethesda games.
Mm-hmm.
But
Fallout 4.
I can't wait.
Oh yeah.
But like Civ 5, they really, really dumbed down the combat.
Yeah, the AI was horrible.
Well, the AI and also like a lot of the ways they did things with the combat, like, because each hex in Civ represents a pretty fucking big piece of land. Like you could stack troops into a hex. So like, say we're kind of in the Middle Ages of the game. I could put, 10, say I could have 10 things in there. So I could put in, 3 archers, 4 or 5 infantry, and like 2 cavalry into a square. And that's basically an army, but in Civ 5, you can only have 1 unit per square. So, like, it was a lot more dumbed down because you couldn't like tactically mix your troops to perform certain ways and things like that. Even though it started out as a really buggy piece of crap from what I've heard. It's not a game I play. But a couple of my friends are pretty into it, as Total War Rome 2 or Total War 2. I don't know. Total War Rome and 2 are in the title. I don't exactly know which order the words go in. I think it's Total War Rome 2. I think that's the way it's supposed to go.
Total War 2, Roman Empire.
But they play that, and like, that's actually a pretty decent medieval war simulator in a lot of ways. Like, it's still a tactical game. It's not a simulation. I'll explain my difference in a second. But like, cause like you can actually set up where your units are, use the terrain, you control the units in the battle, it's close in, hands on. It's not quite an RTS because you're not pumping out troops and sending them to the front line. But like, you have to like worry about your army strength. Cause like when your army fights, you take losses. When you're traveling, if you don't have good enough supply lines, you can take losses. If morale's low enough, people can desert. Things that really happen, especially in the Middle Ages. So, and then you can also, if you show up to the right place that's like an enemy state, then they're in rebellion, you may get people to join you because they think your state's cooler and will replenish your army and things like that. So
come to the cool side of the pillow.
That's right. Grass is greener over here, we swear.
Billy D. Williams.
Kind of reminds me of some of the old style ones I used to play too, like Masters of Magic.
Yeah.
I still look it up at DOS Simulator once in a while to play that.
Yeah.
It's just fun.
Yeah. Like Age of Empires, World,
Dude.
There's another one I was thinking of besides Age of Empires, but Age of Empires is just another good example of that. It's a fantasy game, but you actually have to worry about the tactics in it.
Yeah.
And, they're like, like I said, a couple of guys are really into Rome, Total War, Rome 2 or whatever.
That game.
You can look it up on Steam.
We all have phones in front of us right now if you really wanted to look it up.
I don't care quite that much. But like, they love it, and it's it is a tactical game, and like the way it works, like one of them is a very tactical thinker. The other one tends to space out a little bit when doing everything in life. So the tactical thinker tends to do better in that game. And like, he's actually looked at it and tried to do, actually pull off tactics like from Sun Tzu's The Art of War in that game. And it actually works. The game engine actually is, built well enough for a war game that, Sun Tzu's tactics do actually work. So, I think that's pretty cool personally, but not my style of game. I suck at tactical games like that.
Yeah. So that's a temp thing I can get into. I could spend hours just playing a tactical game.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's like certain types of games. Like one of my favorites, also due to the theming, was Pharaoh, but it's a civilization building. I love civilization building games. But like when it's hyper tactical combat, I suck at them.
I think the last game I played that was a strategy game of sorts was Advanced Wars on Game Boy Advance, which it was really fun. Like I haven't had that much fun with just a strategy game before, and it was good enough to come out with a sequel. But I didn't have a Game Boy Advance long enough to. I missed that. I had the Game Boy Advance SP that had
I remember that,
the NES. Design on it, like the old NES design, and then I ended up trading it into like a game store for like $50, and I totally regret doing that. Wish I had it again, because I think it's worth like 130, 140 like on eBay now as a collector's item.
probably.
God damn it. Anyway, sorry, I went from awesome games to regret.
Regret is so easy to come by. It's okay.
It is. But Advance Wars was really cool because it was just a simple strategy game. I mean, you're playing on a little, 3.5, 4-inch screen or whatever, and it's you just basically build a military using different strengths and stuff, and then as it gets more advanced, they start introducing the fog of war, so you can't exactly see where the opposing military is on the board, and so you just have to send in
Scouts, basically.
Scouts and recon people and try and open up that fog of war a little bit to see where everybody's at. But the idea behind it was really cool, and I thought it was fun. It was a fun way for me to pass time between classes at BSU. So
we were playing around with it a little bit. Advanced Wars 2 on the
Game Boy Advance.
Game Boy Advance, yeah. They had back in the day when I worked at GameStop, had a.
You worked for GameStop?
Yeah. Yeah, I was down when I was down in Phoenix.
I had no idea.
Oh, I thought I said that before.
You may have. Maybe just didn't.
Okay. But, we'd have display models, and sometimes a boss would pull out, like, somebody would bring in a Game Boy or something that they did a trade-in with, and she'd just kind of keep it behind the counter for a little while, and we'd play with it. Stuff like that. So, I get myself familiar with the games that we're selling, too.
Yeah.
And it's kind of part of the job was playing the games and being familiar with them.
Oh, yeah.
When new games came out, we'd be like, we'd be able to check out the new games. We could play them and tell the customers about them. So it was hella cool.
Granted, not so much anymore because there's like reviewers that have become popular enough that they've got embargoed copies and you have like same day reviews as when they're released.
Yeah.
So
to an extent,
you can become pretty well informed the day of.
Well, to some extent, that has always been true with reviewing, but back when all we had was print media, you would get the review the same month that the game was released because of whenever the magazine came out.
Right.
But nowadays, Total Biscuit, Angry Joe, Rev 3, these guys are going to be doing same day reviews, and many others too. GameSpot, don't trust IGN.
Yeah, they've been caught a couple of times.
IGN,
they're doing the paid review thing.
And I would not go to a hype site, but I can see why marketers at EA, at Activision, Ubisoft, any of them, like IGN, because IGN's a hype site, is what it is, really, that hypes up video games.
I think they've even gathered permission in some cases to release a review like 2 days before release and whatnot.
Yeah, so they drive their hits and they give
hype up the game
and give a favorable review. Yeah.
Oh my god, this game's so awesome! You bought it, you suck.
Yeah, but their hype site mentality is not good for honest review. I think most games are done at least a month before they're in the public's hands. Probably longer because, we're still disc based. So you have to have time to print the discs and yada, yada, yada. So like a reviewer could get an advanced copy, basically hot off the presses, or here, download it, play it on a PC. Even if it's supposed to, even if it's mainly meant as a console release, almost everything is released for both consoles. Oh, sorry, there's the Wii U.
It's okay, Wii.
It's okay, Wii U. We will just forget about you again. But but there's the triumvirate of PC, Xbox, currently Xbox One, and PS4. And pretty much all major releases hit all three platforms. There's some exclusives here and there, but not very many. So, even if a reviewer is on like a PS3 site or something like that, they could, send them the digital file or, give them a place to download it from, to download the digital file, to play it on the PC with a PS4 controller hooked up to the PC. Mm-hmm. And guess what? It'll perform basically like a better PS4 if you do that.
I heard Watch Dogs was getting some shit lately for...
I'll talk about that. Actually, I already did talk about it a couple episodes ago, I think.
That's okay.
I think you did too, yeah.
It's worth repeating.
Yes. Dominance of the PC over those crappy consoles.
What is, bro?
But you can do that. You can hook admittedly, like I'm getting Watch Dogs as soon as I can. Well, okay, as soon as I'm ready to go to bed, and I'm gonna start my download. Like I'm looking at it, I'm going, this might be a game I want a controller for.
Oh yeah.
So if it is, I've still got some, I've got enough laying around that if it is, tomorrow I'm gonna head down to Best Buy and pick up an Xbox controller, a wired Xbox controller. Because some games are better with the controller, but and this is one Watch Dogs looks like it might be, but the controversy about Watch Dogs. At E3 2012, I think it was when it was first shown. Mm-hmm. And everything up until 2014 was looking gorgeous, beautiful, amazing, one of the best looking games out there by pretty much everybody's opinions. And they were doing live, demos of stuff.
There was a dude with a controller in his hand.
Yeah, playing it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all of a sudden this one video came out. I can't remember which one it was, but it didn't look as good. It was a playthrough video. They were showing a little bit. I think it was part of the PvP playthrough, but it didn't look quite as good as what had been shown before. So people were all like, "What the hell?"
Mm-hmm.
And then they stayed mum about it for a little while. Ubisoft didn't say much about it, but people kept going, "What the hell?" So finally Ubisoft came back and said, all the old footage we showed you, and there's going to be some footage coming up that you're going to see, it's all done on PC. This one we showed you right here was on PlayStation 4. PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One can't handle the game as well as a PC can. They straight up said it. The consoles are not as powerful as PCs.
Well, whatevs. I mean, it doesn't take away from the playability or the fun factor.
Well, that's part of my thing too. Is like, people are so obsessed with 1080p 60 frames per second nowadays. That, yeah, like then like you don't get games necessarily that are always doing it. Like, Call of Duty on the Xbox. On the Xbox One, because of the way it was built, was doing 60 frames per second at 720p. Not COD, Battlefield. Sorry.
Right.
Battlefield has always been a more graphically pretty game, even though it's all mucky brown, just like every other modern military shooter. That's probably one of the reasons I hate modern military shooters. They're all beige. Everything in the damn game is beige.
Because you're usually in some sort of cityscape.
Beige. Well, yeah, but I'm going to play in a video game. I want some, like, color.
Look up and you'll see this guy.
Okay, I have blue, and I look down to where, anything useful is, and oh, look, it's all beige. Oh, no, sorry. That actually qualifies as brown. It's dark enough to be brown instead of beige. And that little bit over there is tan. But, yeah.
Don't forget burnt sienna.
Oh, sorry. Can't forget the burnt sienna. But, yeah, no, it's, yeah, but the Watch Dogs thing, basically, the Ubisoft came out and said probably what most manufacturers are thinking. PCs are better. We're making more money off of the consoles. That's why we're still supporting them. But, if you want to make the best possible stuff, because like Battlefield was running at 60 frames per second, 720p on the Xbox One. It was running at 60 frames per second at like 9 something. It's the half step between 720 and 1080. Mm-hmm. It was at 60 frames per second on the PS4. You could run it at 60 frames per second, 1080p on PCs. Granted, the PC has to be powerful enough, but the PCs are the only ones that could do it. Mm-hmm. So yeah. But yeah, that was the same thing that happened with Watch Dogs. So
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So war games.
Yeah, back to war games.
Tabletop board style games.
Warhammer.
Yes, well that's the big dog in the room for tabletop war games is Warhammer 40K and Fantasy.
Yeah.
I was gonna say probably one of the most expensive habits I've ever seen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
War games in general are very expensive. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I knew a guy back when I worked at Radio Shack who had easily a few grand buried into it. And the amount of miniatures and everything that goes into it, like even the starter kit was like what, $60?
That was a decade ago. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
And it wasn't 60; it was 120.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Well, also depends on what it's made of. If it's a pewter, then yeah, it's going to be up there. But you can get the plastic ones.
No, I know what set he's talking about because it was the one Dragon got him.
Yeah.
Oh,
it was $120.
Okay.
It was the dwarf starter box for Warhammer Fantasy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's... Yeah.
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 Even though they're plastics, so...
That's a big box, though.
Yeah, it is.
Big box. Oh. Gives me a tickle in my pee-pee.
I've... back when I was a heavy player of war games, I was lucky enough to work at a gaming store. And we were chapter approved. In other words, we met all of Games Workshop's requirements to be A-OK. Mm-hmm. And our owners gave each employee $150 a month in free minis.
Oh my God. I hate you so much.
And we also had a 40% discount on other minis. So, I
still would have spent my whole paycheck there.
So I acquired a lot of minis really quickly. But yeah, it is an expense. It also depends on what level you're looking at. It is how expensive a hobby it is. Mm-hmm. If you're going for 2,000 point Warhammer armies, 40K or Fantasy, it gets pretty expensive. Also, there's ways to mitigate the cost, by intentionally playing armies where each individual model is a high points value. It means you have less people to buy. So it reduces your physical cost. Whereas for example, for 40K, if you play the Imperial Guard, you better have a lot of money to spend. Mm-hmm. Because Imperial Guardsmen are I think the second cheapest thing in the game. The only thing less expensive than them is goblins for the Orc army. And the Orc army again, the Orc army and the Imperial Guard army, you have tons of figures compared to everybody else. And each individual figure, roughly the same cost as every other figure. You know.
So you have to have that many figures, though?
Well, it depends on the army you're doing.
It depends on the army you're doing. Like, a Space Marine or Eldar army, they have very high individual points costs, so you have far less figures on the board. They're also individually more powerful.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
But like the Imperial Guard and the Orcs are cheap. Basically, every model's expendable. It's just you try to overwhelm your opponent.
Strategy by numbers.
Versus strategy by strategy.
Yeah. And then you could go like, Terminator army.
Yeah.
You're talking like, what, a dozen figures?
Yeah, pretty much. Actually, that's one of the things they did in the new 7th edition rules that just came out. 40K for a long time has had army lists. And you had to follow basically a flow chart when building your army. It didn't tell you exactly what you could put in your army, but it gave you strictures. Like you could have, one headquarters choice, which is, your commander and a little group of guys that hang out with him. Then you could have like 2 elites choices, and then you had to have like a minimum of 2 troop choices, things like that. So like how you would do like a Terminator army under that one is you get your HQ, you put them in Terminator armor to soak up points, basically. And also Terminator armors are really, really friggin' powerful. And then you buy Terminator unit elites. You put them in Land Raiders, which are big tanks that they ride around in. And then you take the 2 smallest troop options available and then kit them out with as much toys as you can. Basically, you do everything to make each individual miniature really, really powerful. And it cuts down on how many minis you have. The problem with it is that if someone gets lucky, they get lucky. They get really lucky, because you don't have the minis to soak any losses, really.
Right.
But in 7th edition, they have the army list still, which is normal tournament standards still. And they also have what's called Unbound, which is, here's the Space Marine army list, buy what you want, or whatever army list. But there's no other strictures. So, which I like. I like that they have.
Crazy.
I like that they have those rules because they've made it official now, essentially, because a lot of people play like that in friendly games anyway. It's, I can't quite field an army yet, but I have these minis. So you can just go to your friends. Yeah, no big deal.
Must be one of those kind of like Monopoly rules type things that just gets adopted into actual gameplay.
Right?
Like the $200 or the collecting the pot in the middle,
right?
After if you land on go or whatever,
or free parking.
Free parking. Yeah, that's what it was. Free parking.
Yeah, that's a common rule. I think it's actually in the rule book now as an option.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But like after a while, it's just okay. Let's just make it a.
But yeah, so they added the Unbound rules to make it kind of official. But you can just say, this is, and even like as like a local tournament, you can go, it's an Unbound tournament. So people can just bring what they have. They don't have to worry about, oh man, I'm a troop choice short. I can't play in this tournament. It's like, I have everything I need to make the 2,000 point army. But, because of this, normally I'd be a troop choice short versus an elite, but now I can just have that elite instead. Sweet. I'm good to go. I can play. And I think that's a good idea on their part.
Yeah, they have a tendency to make you need to spend as much money as possible.
Games Workshop is very good at that. That don't get me wrong, they are in business to make money. That's why they're there. I mean, the guys who work there, most of them love the hobby, but they also realize they got to make money for the company. And also, I see an advantage for the Unbound rules for them too, because you can go buy any of the cool toys you want that are really expensive in the box.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah. So no, I think there's a lot of benefit to them officially adding the Unbound rules, both for their bottom line and for players. So,
I just like the fact that in stuff like that where the miniatures are, it's almost like what am I looking for here? Like almost like microtransactions, like in the fact that like you could have a weapon yay big, physical in size, another weapon yay big, physical size.
Yeah.
This one does way more damage, has better stats. Guess what? You're gonna get a little more money out of it.
Yeah.
Which is weird because the actual cost probably doesn't change by more than a few pennies between them.
Right.
In order to produce them. But I just think that's funny that he just.
Actually, that's one of the scary things about miniature production is how much they actually cost. Like an individual figure, if you took just the production cost of like making that plastic or lead, or not lead or pewter anymore, but white metal miniature, that's individually they're relatively cheap. They're not that expensive. They're pennies on the dollar they get for them. However, what a lot of people forget about is that back end of having the guys model them,
Create the molds.
and then you have to tool the molds, replicate the molds to be able to do more than one molding of them at a time. And like tooling these very specific metal molds is not cheap.
And the employee costs on top of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. These artists get paid good money to
Yeah.
come up with these designs.
Oh yeah, they're the artists are not. They don't live in the poorest conditions. But yeah, it's like there's a lot of costs in the background that a lot of people don't think about when it comes to war games and the war game manufacturers and why they are so expensive. However, that's why I like some of the newer options that have come out that are the skirmish games. Like Mercs, Infinity, Malifaux, to some extent War Machine. War Machine's kind of in its own little special category where it doesn't quite get as small as most of the skirmish games, but you can play it at a lot lower investment in miniatures than you can with Warhammer. But you can also get as big as Warhammer games with it. But the skirmish games, like, for example, Mercs. Mercs sells a rulebook and boxes of minis and dice. If you need special cool die 10s to go with your minis. Oh, I do.
Who doesn't?
Yeah. And then they have the rule book. Actually, Merc's rules are online for free. You don't even need the rule book unless you want a physical rule book. And then you have your box of minis. Has 5 minis in it. That's all you need. You do not need any more minis. It's like $65 for the box of minis.
And there's some pretty nice minis.
Oh, the Mercs minis are gorgeous. They're 30 millimeter scale, which is a scale I like to work with, and they're really, really nicely sculpted. I would say for my favorite for sculpts right now, Infinity.
Yeah.
But the thing is like Mercs is easy to get into because of that. Like, 2 friends can get into it if they don't want to paint them for $130. And and you can go up from there, and like they're rolling out like additional figures for Mercs, but they're options. Like, I'm going to swap out my sniper for a close and assault guy because we're going to be fighting in an urban environment. But you don't have to ever buy any of those to play the game effectively. So, and then like Infinity's a little more expensive. It's built to be around 10 figures. But still, you're looking at about $120 investment for an army that way. And that's like never buying an additional figure. But still, that's 1/20th the investment, or 1/10 at least the investment of Warhammer. And it gives people the ability to get in and try wargaming for a much less expensive price. And then if you like it, you can continue with that game and never touch another one. You can try others, but yeah, I don't know. I think they're falling mic.
Yeah.
What? I'm upright. No. Okay.
The microphone.
I had too many drinks. I'm sorry.
He's kind of alcohol fixated this week.
Yeah.
What? It was just a joke carrying over from earlier,
Taking a
which
flat.
people would have heard earlier in the week. So just go back and re-listen if you need to.
So you carrying a flask to work? Is that the deal? Can't
I
take-
should. Man, I should.
I actually kind of wonder sometimes how many people at your job do carry flasks to work.
I wouldn't be surprised to see one.
Do what you gotta do to deal with people.
Yeah. But anyway, as far as like some of the real World War games are actually getting more popular again. For a long time. Really the only popular one was Warhammer. But then other ones that were popular also were in either a sci-fi or fantasy vein. But now we're getting some ones that are either closer to real life or based on real life that are becoming more and more popular. Like Dust is becoming more popular, and it is an alternative history World War II, where World War II didn't end in 1945. And like the armies have started developing walkers and things like that, along with the tanks and the infantry and stuff. Cool figures. Mm-hmm. And also it's another one of those scalable games where you can go from like each side has one walker and like a dozen infantry to big battles. So the scalability thing is also one of the things I like about a lot of the newer games. Then there's actually one that's pretty hugely popular called Flames of War, which is actually 15 millimeter scale, so they're really small. About half the size of a normal D&D mini.
Oy.
Yeah, you don't get a lot of detail on them. But it's actually, there's two versions of Flames of War. There's World War II, which was the first one that came out with. They also have a Vietnam War one. And it's evidently taking off like crazy around the world. I don't know about the scene here in Boise that much, but I think it's doing pretty well here because All About Games has a pretty sizable selection of Flames of War stuff in their store. And I don't think they would have it if it wasn't doing well in Boise. It could have been we're going to try it, and then got stuck with it, but they have so much that it looks like it's more than they just tried it. Plus it isn't discounted. So,
Yeah.
So yeah.
So they got it on the shelves because they're selling it.
Right, exactly. So, but like the World War II ones especially is becoming more popular. It's kind of like for a long time, like war games before the advent of the chainmail rules, which became Dungeons and Dragons, and before the advent of Warhammer, they were either Napoleonic Wars, Civil War, or medieval recreation, and it was always recreation of battles. And like there was kind of a fracturing between the two halves of the wargaming population. Like when Warhammer came out, there was the guys who were like, "No, we do this historical stuff, rah,"
Right.
and then there was the other guys who were like, "Dude, but I can throw a fireball," And the two sides begrudgingly got along at the paint store, and that was about it. But nowadays, like games like Flames of War are getting more popular with the sci-fi and fantasy crowd too. So it's kind of nice to see a little more, like the divide kind of going away a little bit. Part of it is that like Flames of War's rules are a little more lax when it comes to realism. They're not as technical as a lot of the old war game rules where they tried to do everything to okay, you hit a 65 caliber musket ball, not a 55 caliber, and it was, and they just got too complex. Whereas Flames of War is a little more intentionally fast paced of a game.
Well, it sounds like the video game equivalent to that would be something like Resistance, where it's almost like, because World War II never really ended, but
Right. That'd be
Yeah.
like Dust, yeah.
yeah, we happen to just end up in a alien invasion during Middle War II.
Yes.
Oh, that's fantastic. And then, yeah, it kind of went on from there.
Yep.
But,
Yeah, Resistance and Dust kind of have that World War II never ended, technology changed due to factors thing going on, yeah. Mm-hmm. So,
Boom.
yep.
what about the original, the OG war game, chess?
I always wished I got better at chess.
Anybody here was in chess club?
Dustin wins the Nerd of the Night award.
Woohoo! In fact, I got second place in our little chess club. We had like some 35 people in a double elimination tournament. Made it undefeated up until the very end, which means the guy who beat me twice
Yep.
in a row. All for a good reason. The guy has a fucking brain. But Josh Johnston, I'll put his name out there. But yeah, that fool beat me right at the end of the
Yeah.
tournament. It was just lunchtime every day. You play one person, your name was marked or moved off the list, and I'll be honest with you, I never had any real strategy. Like, I maybe looked up one strategy ever, and I just kind of played with it a little bit, but I never, I never had like the Kensington strategy or the blah blah blah. Or, there's so much shit out there for chess that it's that opening move, or you can put yourself in a situation. Or,
Yeah. Well, every move of a chess game eliminates possibilities from the chess game. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things where like really good players is that they know the further in the game gets, they know what move to make based on the remaining possibilities of what can happen.
And my grandpa was one of those people. He would my grandparents, my grandpa and my grandma, on my mom's side, almost got divorced over chess because my grandpa would never let my grandma win, and she just got so pissed off at him, like flung the board over and tossed the pieces, and they went silent treatment for like a week, and and they just decided that they would just never play chess again. And
that was probably a good move.
Yeah. So, and so I tried playing chess with my grandpa, and and my aunt Cherry.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ! I tried playing a game of chess with her on a family vacation one year. I played her twice over the course of that vacation, and she just pummeled me. Like, I had no chance. She had me beat before I probably even
before you made your first
before
move.
I made my first move.
Yeah.
So, both of them really good chess players. I think my aunt and my grandpa actually played chess with each other on occasion, like during our family vacations before he passed away, and she may have picked up some stuff from him, but I think my aunt already had a pretty good base for chess. And if you've never played chess, learn. It's a good game. It's a good brain flexor.
Yeah.
Take your time with it. I've seen chess games go for hours, and then there's some chess games that end in minutes.
Yeah.
Just depends on how quick you are and what you know. I want to be one of those old men that has an old man best friend who just sits
at a park bench.
Sits at a park bench where they got the pre-made chess tables already built into the park.
I thought we were going to be like playing like Xbox.
Well, that too.
Okay.
With chess on the Xbox.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Video table.
Yeah, video table. You can just like a pad, just move the chess piece.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Touchpad. Yeah. Okay.
Boom.
Or by then, maybe they'll have hologram tables where just.
Yeah.
Or like better yet, Star Trek, where they have like the staggered.
People already have that.
I know. I actually saw them at All About Games.
Yeah. No, they have full rules for that, and there's also like up to 6-person chess,
which is just mind numbing.
Yeah.
Duh.
But
also there are if you have a chessboard but you don't necessarily have anyone to play with, you can look them up online. But there's logic problems built around the manipulation and movement of chess pieces.
Yeah.
That was Dustin Brain spraying all over the table.
Yeah. I've never gotten that deep into chess. I was very excited to even have a second place trophy, let alone
Yeah.
be in the tournament itself. But it was a good time. It was a lot of fun. I probably made a couple of friends in that chess tournament that I didn't have before.
Yeah.
So a good bonding experience too, because you're playing against people you've never talked to probably before.
Yeah.
Like maybe you knew of them, but never really had met them, and that was maybe your opportunity. Especially in a room full of probably nerds.
Yeah.
You were with your people.
Yeah.
But
That's a nice ass. I'm going to carve off a piece for you.
and
What?
wow. And the look of some specialized chess tables.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and by the way, we talked about X-Men in our last podcast, the new X-Men movie. Pay attention to the chess set they use in that movie, because that was the first thing I noticed, and it was fucking gorgeous. There's just a small chess scene between Xavier and Magneto.
Yeah.
And the pieces that are on the board and the look of the board and the way it was made and everything is just amazing.
Cool.
I love when people put some time into making chess tables look good. My mom had a roommate, Dan, who was he laid tile for a living. He still does. Like, he just tiles homes, like the kitchens and stuff. And he always came home with a bunch of leftover, like, marble and stuff like that. And he would go and just carve stuff out of it with a Dremel.
Nice.
And for a birthday gift, he actually carved me a chess set.
Nice.
And I really wish I knew where it was. He customized the table. Like, he had tile pieces that were the right size and everything.
Oh, nice.
And he made, like, an actual chess table out of a table.
Okay.
And, like, it was just a really cool set. And well, sorry about that. An amazing gesture on his part. And I have no idea where it went. It was a graduation gift.
Oh.
And I feel bad to this day because I have no idea where it went. It moved with me to my dad's place, which was a really weird time in my life. So a lot of things probably got moved around and misplaced. And I know we were using the actual table because I didn't have any place for the actual chess pieces because I didn't have my own. I was living on my own, but technically I was with my dad. He was basically more of a roommate than anything. But since it was at the house, we had the table. So we used the table for whatever reason, and I don't remember what I did with the pieces. So they must have got lost on a move somewhere, and I don't know where they went. So, Dan, if you're listening, I'm sorry. It's been, 12 years, 13 years?
Yeah.
Uh,
I apologize.
You can pin up some Warhammer minis and use those as the pieces. They work rather nicely.
Yeah.
Those are like this, though, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's a really tiny chest.
Oh, no, you get some of the bigger figures for, like...
Well, yeah, and you can use like a standard-sized chessboard rather than big table, too, I guess. But, yeah. They fit well for a regular-sized chessboard.
What about the game War? The card game War. Where you just,
Oh, wow. I haven't played that in ages.
I mean, it's just a pure game of luck, just whatever
yeah.
the cards are dealt, but just basically a luck version of, it's the modified version of high-low,
Yeah.
if you think about it. But it's competitive, is the only difference. But where you just, if you are unaware or have never played the game of War as a kid, your childhood sucked. Because basically it's just a 52 card deck. You deal them out shuffle them up, deal them back and forth, deal out the whole deck between two people, and you just hold it in the stack, and you just flip over the top card every time. Just flip over the top card, and whoever has the high card takes it.
Yep.
Just takes the two cards. You end up in a tie, so you both flip over a jack. It's wartime. You deal down 3 cards face down, flip up the next card out of your hand. High-low wins. And if it's another tie, you keep doing it again. 3 more cards down, bam, flip the next one over until somebody wins, and then that person takes the entire stack.
And the idea is to have more cards at the end of the game than the other person.
Preferably all of them.
Yeah.
And eventually it'll probably get to that point. But, yeah. It's weird. The game can take some weird twists sometimes, especially...
Yeah.
Like, you can have somebody who has 3 cards left in their deck, but if they still have, like, a king or an ace rolling around in there, that game can take a weird turn all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember War. It was just basically a time killer for if you're on a road trip or something, but
Yeah.
or if you're out camping and don't really have any technology with you. Deck of cards, that's all you need.
Yep.
Play some War.
What, camping or not having technology with you?
No technology? That's a sin.
Okay.
That's the sinniest sin ever.
Define technology.
Technically, everything from when we started knocking rocks together is
Yep.
technology.
I
so-
know.
Oh, fine. Go knock your rocks together then.
No modern technology? Is that what you mean, Mike? No Game Boys, no
No phones,
no computers, no DVD players.
There's no life without any of that.
Yes, there is.
Not
I think
living.
the most technology we brought with us on our camping trip was a Nintendo DS, and that was just kind of to dick around during the campfire. I don't think we actually even played any games. We were just
drawing each other dick pictures.
Yeah, across the DS, just send dink.
Yeah.
I remember short distance messaging. That was always fun.
Yep.
Was it like a 30-foot?
Yeah, it was like a 30-foot Wi-Fi range or something
Yeah.
like that.
It was like me, you, Heidi, and was that it? Just the three of us?
I'm trying to remember. I think it was just the three of us at the DSs that day.
Yeah, and I think Dragon opted on the PSP,
Yeah.
and we all eventually went PSP. But
Yeah. I still have both.
I have a PSP, and I think it's gone derp on me.
My PSP is showing its age.
I know the battery lasts for maybe 5 minutes now. It's gotten to that point where
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
just
My battery's still okay, but barely.
You got a GBA still, that's it.
I wish I still had a GBA. I really do. And Retron 5 was announced on its release date,
Oh, they finally got a release date.
June 6th.
Alrighty.
Right around the fucking corner.
Nice.
And Daddy want.
Yep.
Boom. Risk.
Oh, shit. How did
Talk about a game that makes me want to flip fucking boards over.
Yep. Oh.
Do tell, Mike. You brought it up.
It was just childhood memories of what the hell's happening? Why am I getting my ass handed to me? And yeah.
I played Risk once when I was like 9, and I've never played it since. But it's always intrigued me.
Yeah. Good on you.
Mason doesn't want to touch that one.
I hate that game.
I'm gonna bring it back to video games.
It's a cool idea,
Oh.
but yeah, it's frustrating.
Yeah.
I know Jake and I on an early podcast had brought up one of our favorite childhood games on the Genesis, was General Chaos, and that was a real fun game for two people. It's funny because on single player, it's like a point and click strategy game.
Okay.
Where you just move you're on a small battlefield, and it's top down, it's cartoony, you know. And you pick a character and you can move them to a certain point and then they just automatically react to their surroundings.
Right.
So if there's an enemy within shot range, they'll just start firing in that direction or whatever. But if you play a 2-player on the same team, you each get 2 characters between you, and then you can use one of those buttons to switch back and forth between characters, and then you can just manually move them across the screen, which is how we like to play it. So, and you can control when to fire and where to fire. Which is how I like to play games, because it's
Yeah.
a little more instant gratification, you know, and you have more control over your characters, because if the AI doesn't do what you want it to do, it's just going to run into death.
Yeah.
Yeah. But General Chaos was fun because you just move across the board to try and take over the map or whatever you're trying to do, and
Yeah.
it's super simple. The game was retarded hard and difficult depending on how you went about choosing your
What was
characters.
a SNES game? Genesis game?
Genesis game.
Yeah. Well, anything back in that era.
It was one of those EA games that had like the little yellow tab on the side of it, but it wasn't like rectangular. It was like more square shaped,
Oh.
a little taller than the other Genesis games. But
Yeah. I mean, there is a reason that there is the term Nintendo hard.
Yes. Yes. Where if you walk away from the edge of the screen for 5 seconds, the enemy you just killed will respawn instantly and then end you. Don't know why that works that way, because programmers don't know what they're doing.
Well, they still had a lot of bugs to work out back in the day.
Yeah.
No.
But speaking of old school military type games, Atari 2600 Tank.
That was Combat was the actual game, but I think that was...
Well, there was Tank.
There was like 4 games.
There was the tanks and the airplanes.
Yeah. The airplanes was ridiculously hard. I could never get those fuckers off the ground. Like the concept of it for me as a kid was always kind of hard for some reason. I just could never get the fucking tanks off the ground. Not the tanks, but the planes.
Yeah.
And then, but the tanks. Yeah.
Yep.
Especially with the bouncing shots.
Yep.
Yeah.
Blow the shit out of each other all the time. Just boom, 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 back and forth.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just try and bank that shot the right way. Suck it.
Yep. Yeah. Then a friend of mine back when I lived in California ages ago had back when they actually made games for Macs.
The 3D wireframe tank game?
No. Battlezone.
Yeah.
I liked the first person shooter Battlezone reboot. That was pretty fun. Tanks and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But no, it was a game called The Art of War, and it was a strategy game.
Mm-hmm.
And there were various famous generals you could fight. There was like Alexander the Great, Julius Caesar, Sun Tzu. Needless to say, he was the hardest, considering the game was named after his book. Napoleon Bonaparte. And then they had an intentionally easy general they just made somebody up. And then there was Crazy Ivan. Like, all the other generals followed specific tactics that they would have used in situations, and
Mm-hmm.
and then there was the easy guy who was just kind of there to teach how to play the game. And then there was Crazy Ivan. It was like basically every possible option in the game was on a randomizer for him, and he would do one of them that turn.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he could end up being either ridiculously easy or ridiculously hard, depending on...
Or utterly frustrating all the time, because yeah. It was hard to react to him.
Because you had no idea.
Because you had no idea what was going on. Yeah.
That's pretty funny. All right. Anything else you can think of? We're just rolling into an hour.
Just rolling into an hour.
Not forcing it. If we can't think of anything genuinely, then it's fine.
Well, considering the last thing I popped out was Risk, I guess I'm kind of out.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's a couple
Battleship.
Battleship.
Oh, I love me some Battleship.
Battleship. Yeah. The thing is Battleship. Once you got someone ranged in and you kind of know where their ships are, you can just tear them apart quick.
And then when they introduced Talking Battleship, that sealed the deal for me. I love Talking Battleship. When you actually plug in the coordinate, it goes, "You sunk my battleship."
Yeah. Yeah, and then an NES game that I loved to death was Silent Service. It was a World War II submarine sim for back in the day.
Oh,
and
interesting.
Like, you had to, went through day-night cycles, so you had to surface at night to run your diesels, to charge up your batteries. You had to know when to dive. Things like that. It had like actual thermal layers in the water, which back in World War II, not so much nowadays, but back in World War II, sonars had a hard time piercing the thermal layers in water, because that's where like you will get differentials in like actual, like not just pressure, but like density of the water, like really abrupt ones, and sonars would have a problem penetrating those. And you were a U.S. submarine in the Pacific, you could pick from like 30 or 40 different submarines. And you would go out and hunt Japanese shipping in 1941.
Interesting.
Yeah. And like some of the, like my friends and we played some of, we did some cheap stuff that like no real submarine captain would have done. Cause like normally how like in World War II they were taught to use submarines was that they would run underwater during the day, only attack during the day if they had to. Like it was two choice to pass up or they couldn't follow it. Otherwise what submarines would do is they would wait till the nighttime so they could surface, so they could run, so they could be faster, and they would run and they would attack. And then they would try to turn and run. And get as far away as possible on the surface and then submerge if they needed to. It's not like a modern submarine that doesn't see daylight for 6 months.
Because it's got a nuclear reactor for an engine.
Whereas you can't exactly run the diesel underwater for very long before the air gets a little foul.
Mm-hmm.
You could, but it was a last-ditch effort to recharge the batteries a little bit. But yeah, like one of the things we would do is like we would attack by turning our tail to the enemy ships, and we would run at them backwards. And we'd fire our torpedo spread, pop off a few rounds with the deck gun if we needed to, and then we'd gun it and just be out of there because we didn't have to do the turns to get out of there. We were just able to run. So, like, the enemy destroyers would have a hard time catching us because we were already pretty much at full speed by the time they were maneuvering out of the fleet. So.
Peace out, bitches.
Yeah.
So you should have been a World War II submarine commander, huh?
Probably. Yeah.
What do you mean go at them backwards?
Trust me.
Just do it. I played lots on Nintendo.
What?
What? Just shut up. Go.
Call it
That's an order.
backwards Ireland.
Yeah.
One that popped into my brain, I'm surprised we hadn't mentioned it sooner, was Metal Gear. The Metal Gear series as a whole was pretty much military based.
Honestly, I see them more as spy based.
Yeah, I mean, it's true, but I mean, he is military though.
Espionage, but yeah.
Yeah.
Tactical
Commando.
espionage action, I believe, was the underline for the first Metal Gear Solid game. So maybe you're right. I don't know, but but it was in an effort to prevent a war from happening.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
But another one that came to mind was Dynasty Warriors, which
my God.
it plays like a beat 'em up, but it's like loosely, and I mean loosely, based off of like actual Chinese generals or something.
The
like
Warring
that.
States period.
Yeah. So.
Oh, I played the hell out of those.
Oh yeah. Like,
Oh, it was a button masher. It was built to be a button masher
Yeah.
and will always be a button masher. And
Wave
Yeah.
after wave after wave after
Yeah.
wave after wave.
oh yeah. The Dynasty Warriors games, man. Those.
I know Heidi was hooked on them.
Oh yeah. Oh, they're fun. They're just mindless fun.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Oh, and like.
Yeah, I don't think actual Chinese generals had special moves.
No, not really.
Well, I was remembering one I used to play a lot. RTS, Total Annihilation.
Command and Conquer Total Annihilation.
Actually, I don't think it was a Command and Conquer.
Sure. I remember a Command and Conquer Total Annihilation.
I think they did have a Command and Conquer Total Annihilation, but there was also another one that was just Total Annihilation.
Oh, okay.
It was like, yeah, mechs, robots, built customized vehicles, stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, it had some, well, at the time, really nice graphics, really nice map layouts. You're on planets that were basically just, it reminded me of Cybertron.
Okay.
Just everything. It was like, big old cyber planet. And you had these robots that you were, building up and researching technology and all that kind of RTS stuff.
Yeah.
and then you just made things go boom.
I'm gonna call it back right now. Hey, Mike, was your favorite game in the whole world Rad military based?
It wasn't military based. That was anime based. But yeah, Robot Alchemic Drive. Just like remote controlling a giant mecha. Yeah.
Sounds war based.
Yeah. Well, there's so many games that are based
Alien
on
invasion.
so many games are based on
the enemies.
making bang sounds that make things die. So
True. What about any Star Wars games? I don't know if that's considered. That's that's a loose one.
yeah. Oh, which one was it?
Battlefront really is like the only
Well,
one.
there's
I can think of
Battlefront.
that's like worth calling a war game.
Yeah. Republic Commando, kinda.
I don't recall there being any RTS Star Wars. I thought somebody tried it at one point.
No, there was.
God.
Josh was freaking addicted to it. I can't remember the name of the game though, but
Okay, that's right.
yeah,
That's
And
why it's in my mind. I never played it, I don't think.
Yeah, and he'd always lose because he tried to make his bases pretty.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh no, he's horrible at that.
He died fabulous.
Yeah, every time.
At least it's not StarCraft. Zerg. I remember when it first came out. That was the whole thing. Just Zerg, Zerg, Zerg.
Yeah. It's one of the reasons I never got good at RTS is because like the first one I played a little bit of Warcraft 2, but it was kind of on its way out as I got into it a little bit. Then I moved up here, started playing StarCraft, but everyone's Zerg, and I was like, this is boring, and never bothered to play him, so I never got any good at him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think. One game Jake and I brought up. I don't even know if it's considered war based. It's not even an RTS. It's definitely strategy. It was a DOS game called Maelstrom. It was like you had to install it on like 6 or 7, floppies, and get that bitch on there. And we were so confused with the strategy of the game that we played it almost just out of irony and hilarity because we didn't know what we were doing, but it was so different from anything that we had played before that I was like, fuck it, let's just try this and see what happens. So whenever a spaceship battle scene popped up, we were always just like, all right, let's see if we can survive this and just see what happens. It was a good time.
Yep.
Wolfenstein.
And Wolfenstein: A New Order just came out
last week.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I still remember Wolfenstein 3D.
Yeah.
God, that thing is so
With
burnt in
Cyber
my
Hitler.
memory.
I'm leaving.
Mein Leben. Mein Leben.
I love that. Was my favorite death sound in the entire game.
Yeah.
Those are the guys in the blue berets.
Mm-hmm.
And just my name. That's all I ever heard. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Well, did you ever... Oh, man. We did the level editor.
I never did the level editor.
Oh, man. It was so screwed up. I did this one where basically I made a secret door where it made all of the walls of the whole level raise up. And it was filled with the green beret or the blue beret guys. So you'd have like a minigun and then the secret handle, and you just start lawn mowing. And it's like literally like mine leaving. It's just non-stop. It's crazy. I loved it.
Yeah. Say from what I've seen, the new Wolfenstein looks awesome. Like
It's got good reviews so far.
yeah, I would say one like just looking at it, it's freaking pretty. Mm-hmm. Thanks, Bethesda.
Yay, we love Bethesda.
Yeah, and yeah, it's actually gotten really good reviews. And I haven't heard of any bugs.
Mm-hmm.
So it must have not been actually done by Bethesda Game Studios, just published by Bethesda. Yeah. I think it is actually by id Software, so.
I think id still has the rights to it.
Well, id's part of Bethesda. Part of Bethesda.
Oh.
Id.
Quake. Doom.
I wonder what would happen if they ever made a Quake game again.
I don't know, but they're making another Doom.
That's true. They are making another Doom, and we have a new Unreal Tournament. I mean, shit's coming back.
Yeah, the last
Well, see-
Quake didn't do much.
Duke Nukem didn't do too much.
Well,
That's because Duke Nukem sucked and took 15 years or something like 14
10.
years, 10, whatever. Took too long and sucked and was
suffered because of it.
and was even and didn't have the self-referential irony of that was necessary to make those horrible misogynistic jokes work.
although it was fun playing with your poo.
Anyway,
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
but yeah, well, I'm really hoping Unreal Tournament does well. And yeah, I just because like there are arena shooters out there right now, but they're all none of them have the brand recognition of Unreal or Quake or Doom because like Quake and Doom, if you play multiplayer, they're arena shooters, you know. Or I mean, I think the newest Doom had cooperative in it. I don't remember, but you know, like I'm hoping the arena shooters come back a little bit, you know, because like I'm tired of brown, beige, modern shooters. And the thing is like Call of Duty Advanced Warfare looks like it's going to be a brown, beige, slightly in the future shooter.
I have my hopes.
I was like, I mean, I've seen the what you know the video that came out and everything. I mean, it doesn't show all the game, but it does like it looks pretty. I mean, it is honestly a really pretty looking game. I'm also kind of hoping for it because that they put in some of the parkouriness from Titanfall. Because like you've got the magnet gloves and stuff going on, and this the power armor type, or not necessarily power armor, but like exoskeletons,
Elysium armor,
yeah,
as I'm calling it.
But like I'm kind of hoping they put like the wall running and stuff in, so because like running around on the ground and hopping over walls is all well and good, but that's really realistic compared to like kind of like what I want in like a lot of video games. As I'm here drooling over Watch Dogs, set in a near future Chicago, but I'm gonna have super hacker abilities in that game, so I'm okay.
Boom.
But part of it is that like I don't know, I just want to like have a little bit more than what a human could really do in a game. In some ways, I guess is a good way to put it. That's why modern war shooters just don't do it for me. But I like the World War II ones for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah.
I do like past shooters, I think, more than modern shooters. It's funny. Call of Duty World at War got a lot of flack, and I don't know why. I thoroughly.
Which one was that?
It was like it was like came out. It was the one after Modern Warfare. I think just Modern Warfare.
Okay.
And then World at War was the World War II one that came out.
Well, because the first COD was a World War II game.
Right. And then this was
the first 2 or 3 were.
And this was another one.
And they just...
And I think it got a lot of flack for just basically being another...
But I want an assault rifle that fires 50 rounds a second.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because of those asshats.
Which is weird because I pretty much ran around with a double barrel shotgun. That was my weapon of choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. That shoots 1 shot per second.
Yeah. One really effective short-range shot per second.
Yes. That was my strategy. Just roll up on people, blap, and then move on. Blap, move on.
I remember it was funny, like, it was before Call of Duty came out. It was Day of Defeat. It was a Half-Life mod. And one of the things about it was that when you were a sniper class, you had to be on scope to have a crosshair.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the things like some people started doing was like we would have sniper duels, but it wasn't like it was just everybody being a sniper and running around with their scope. No, it was everybody was running around as a sniper, trying to estimate where they had to shoot to hit their opponents, and the whole deal was that you couldn't scope. So this is back when I had still cathode ray tube monitors were normal. Mm-hmm. And I had one. So it was glass and not a piece of plastic for the front of the monitor. Mm-hmm. So after playing one of those, I scoped in, drew a dot with a grease marker on my monitor.
Cheap ass.
I got the idea from someone else who did it, who was playing in the same game I was.
Mm-hmm.
That's genius, though, I guess. Yeah. So basically, you just create your own reticle.
Yeah.
Nice.
Since it always fires to the center of the screen.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it. Mm-hmm. Oh, hell, I was going to say something, but I forgot what it was. Oh, quick scoping became a weird thing in the... the modern warfare thing. Like, you try to get that final kill shot, so people are trying to do, like, these crazy trick shots. Yeah. Like, that became a YouTube phenomenon type thing. Yeah. Where people try to create these, like, crazy kill screen shots where they would, like, jump off a ledge of a building, do, like, a 360 in midair, and then just quick scope their sniper rifle and just... Like, just not even... Like, it never even had the chance to aim. They just... Like,
it was a luck shot.
Yeah, basically. And then they fall to their death or whatever. But the kill screen ends up, it's like an outside shot. So it looks really crazy when the guy's just jumping off a building, like spinning like this, and then it just gets this weird ass shot off.
Yeah.
Also the long distance knife throws. Those are always fun. Where at the very, very beginning of the game, you just look up and go, and just hurl it to the other side of the map as far as it can go. And then it'll I've seen kill screens where they just like ping pong off some of the surroundings in whatever level they're on, and then it would just kind of drop on somebody's ankle and they would die.
Yeah.
Like just some weird shit. And then there's like the crazy weird like direct shots, like just throw it across and it just happens.
It nails
them in the head. Like, come on. Really? I mean, it's a great way to get some points really quick.
These guys they're sitting there recording just hours and hours and hours of gameplay just for a luck shot.
Yep, yeah. That's exactly what it is. They got their little, 1
No,
terabyte.
See, I'm good. I'm elite. I can do this. No, you're lucky.
No, you've been sitting there for the last 6 hours.
Yeah.
With your PVR and hoping to God you catch something worth putting on YouTube.
Yeah.
You are obviously a 14-year-old boy who has nothing better to do with your time.
Hey, D, look behind you. Pop.
Yeah. So you get that quick scope now, bitch.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah.
Well, I was thinking about our Unreal Tournament LAN party we did before.
Yeah.
It was a while ago. At Dragons.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
What happened?
So I was all like, hey, D, check out behind you. Pop you in the head.
Like, you son of a bitch.
Yep. I still loved all the old Alien versus Predator LAN parties where there was always one person. There was almost always only one person playing a Predator. Usually Nate or
Tyler.
No, not Tyler.
Not Tyler. Oh, damn it. Oh, damn it. Don't remember.
Kung Fu.
Huh?
Did Kung Fu. Had black belts. Does like video game animation, or did.
Nate.
Hello, my
Nate.
baby.
Maze.
Hello.
Yeah, it was either Nate or Maze.
No, it's Nathan Maze.
Well, no, there was one of the two. It was Nathan Maze, yeah, but Nate next door. Nate.
The other Nate.
The other Nate. Yeah.
Okay, so Nate or Nate.
So it was always Nate or Nate playing an alien.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Or not an alien, a Predator. Sorry.
Yeah.
And then Dragon.
I remember that was at his old place, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of, it sounds weird, but he was kind of flamboyant a little bit. Or is that a different Nate?
Different Nate.
Or a different guy I'm thinking of?
Different guy, probably.
I remember. Remember, yeah, he would come back and forth between Dragon's house.
Oh, that was Nate.
Yeah.
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 But there's Nathan Maze, who's a different Nate.
Oh.
Okay. Are you thinking Matthews?
There's Matthews and Maze, yeah.
Okay.
Both of them occasionally played Predators.
There's a lot of Nates up in this conversation.
There
right now.
were.
There's two. There's only two Nates up in this conversation.
There's two, but they were omnipresent just about.
Yeah.
Back in the day, yeah.
No matter how hard I tried to get rid of Matthews. Sorry, I never liked the guy.
I understand. That's okay.
Put it out there for the world.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
And I have especially good reasons now, which I won't put out there for the world. But like, so there was like either of them, it was never both of them at the same time, playing a Predator. Then Dragon, Brandy, and occasionally one other person playing an alien, and everybody else was either the corpse or the Marines. Because guns. You know, and like, it was always great looking up and it's like, hey, look, a dark corner. Brat! Oh, look, an alien fell out of it. Didn't see that coming. All the time. And Dragon's, my favorite question to ever come out of Dragon's mouth when playing AVP. Why do you guys leave your minigun spun up? We can hear you coming. That's fine, was my response.
Yep.
But yeah.
Fun.
All right. Well, we're almost an hour and a half in now.
Oh, okay.
So
That's a good show.
That's a good show to end on. All right. Well, we'd love to hear from you. You can post in the comments below, either wherever this is posted, Mixcloud, YouTube, Facebook page, the actual post,
The actual website.
Yeah. Leave us some of your favorite, war games and some of your favorite memories for some of the games that you played. We'd love to hear from you. Maybe we missed some. Actually, I'm sure we missed plenty.
Oh, there's so many out there.
Especially video game based ones.
Well, send us an email, nerdeffect.com or feedback at nerdeffect.com.
There's a contact form on there, or there's feedback at nerdeffect.com.
I don't know what I'm saying anymore.
Yeah.
There's no way you can't not get a hold of us. So no excuses, goddammit.
I think Dustin wants to read an email again. I'm just going to put that out there.
Yeah, we haven't had feedback for the show in a long time. I missed you guys. I know you guys are downloading because I see the stats every day. So
Every day. Every single day.
Yep. Something's getting downloaded every day.
Yep.
Whether it's a past episode or a current episode.
We love you so much.
Anyway, I'm going to take this to the sign-off now.
Do it.
All right. And for Nerd Effect, this has been
Dustin Vancouver.
Mike Morgan.
And I'm Mason Ireland. And for those about to nerd,
we salute you. And happy Memorial Day.
Yes, happy Memorial Day.
Yay.